Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Yeah, let's go. Well, it's a good day for the Trump legal team. I, was watching the headlines over the weekend and this morning, and are Trump's legal troubles finally over? To answer some of these questions with a little more depth, Jeremy Rosenthal's back on. TexasDefenseFirm.com is his website. Hey, you're my lawyer, buddy. Does this mean all the legal stuff is over for Trump?
Most of them, yeah, the big stuff. I mean, if you want to take inventory of all your legal problems, going to federal prison, if you can get that one off the list, it doesn't matter what else is going on in your life. You're playing with the house's money.
Well, Jeremy, at the beginning of the year when you were on the show, Trump had 7 cases. So let's just go through them real quick. The documents case in Florida, Jack Smith already filed paperwork to toss that one like last week. Is that one done?
That one's done. That one was dismissed by Judge Cannon, and it was on appeal. But I believe that the appeal has been dismissed. So,
that's right. He said he's not going to pursue that. And so the other one Jack Smith had, this is related to the January 6th, trespassing cases. But actually, this kind of led to a side quest to, borrow some gamer terminology here, with the immunity case. So I think both of these are done now, right?
Yeah, that's what got dismissed today, were the January 6th prosecutions. And between the January 6th prosecutions and the Mar-a-Lago documents case, that would be Jack Smith's involvement. And so both of those are functionally done. He is out of the picture.
Okay, so there's still some other stuff floating around. The Georgia election interference case. I'm not sure what's up with this one. Isn't this one on ice too?
This thing is stuck in the mud. What happened in that case, it's on what's called an interlocutory appeal. Short end of it is we had this issue where Fani Willis was, she was having relations with one of the other prosecutors. And then Trump's legal team filed an objection to that. Judge overruled it. Now it's on this interlocutory appeal, means that even before the jury sits in the box, they're going to take this issue up on appeal and decide it. That is anywhere between 1 and 8 years away from coming back down from the Georgia appeals courts. So that thing it's stuck in the mud.
Well, you gave us our word for the day. So James Show listeners, your new word for the day, interlocutory, is that the new word?
You got it right.
I've never heard that word in my entire life.
James, you have judges who listen to this show. I know because they tell me. So they're proud of us right now. You and me. They're like yes. Yes,
well, I'm learning. So he's still. What about the Stormy Daniels case? That was. That's wrapped up.
Well, okay. So where that is they're not going to sentence him until after he's out of office. In the interim, the Trump's legal team is trying to ask the judge to throw it out. Probably that won't be the case, but that case is paused until Trump is out of the White House. Okay,
so what about that paperwork case about the business loans? He was found, that's the one where he 34 felonies against the guy, and he supposedly owes like $1 billion or $83 million, something like that. Is that still bouncing around in appeals? What's the status of that one?
Yeah, that if he's got any legal problems that I don't think go away, that's it. The Attorney General in New York State prosecuted him for fraud. He lost a whopping big judgment there. You remember he had to come up with like $400 million to appeal. They lowered it to $175 million, and that's in the New York appellate courts. The case, and an interesting interplay here. So Jack Smith today cited, he says, we don't prosecute sitting presidents. And understand this, that is not the law. The law does not say you cannot prosecute a sitting president. That is the Justice Department's interpretation. The courts have never ruled on that.
Okay.
They may be right on that, but that is their position. If you remember back to the Paula Jones Bill Clinton lawsuit,
I do.
That was the Supreme Court case that said you can sue a sitting president. So if Trump wants to set aside this civil verdict from New York State, he's going to have to get the court to overturn the Clinton v. Jones opinion, which says you can go after a sitting president. So that is, of all of his legal problems, that's his worst one at the moment. And again, it's a bad one.
But he still has that in the E. Jean Carroll decision. Isn't there some money hanging over his head for that one? Or?
Yeah, that's right. It's not nearly as much, but correct. But both of those are essentially in the same post-judgment phase, if you will. And again, because the law allows a sitting president to be sued in civil court, for that reason, those are the cases that are. It's hard to see how those are going to be affected going forward. Now, not a lot going on for them. I mean, if I'm in the Oval Office and I'm dealing with Vladimir Putin or Benjamin Netanyahu, I really don't want to worry about foreclosure actions on my holdings in New York State. He may have an argument that, look, this is a little much, and maybe he finds some purchase there. But that's fundamentally the issue.
All right. Explain this to a legal layman here. Is this a sign that the charges weren't legit to begin with? Because I imagine if there was like a bank robbery, the Department of Justice wouldn't say, well, it's the end of the term, we're just going to drop the charges.
I mean, I think Jack Smith's answer would be no. And I think that anybody involved with the prosecution of his case would say, no, this is for the best of the country. This is because we don't prosecute sitting presidents. Now, I mean, look, if you were federally prosecuting, say, Lee Harvey Oswald, right, for the assassination of JFK,
yes,
and then Lee Harvey Oswald gets elected president, you probably try to figure out a way to go after him still. So maybe you can read in between the lines and say, well, there's not this push. But again, and look, this is a conversation I have with a lot of people in my office. When you go to court and you win, you don't get an apology. The other side will never say, shucks, we were wrong. Have a nice day. You are just never going to get that satisfaction out of your opponent. In the movies you do. You don't get it in real life.
Now, Jeremy, I'm not looking for satisfaction. If these are bogus cases and this is sort of an implicit or even an admission of lawfare, shouldn't Jack Smith be going to prison for abuse of power? You would have to find some law that he violated. There's not like a malicious prosecution, because that's the term they use in suits, and I don't know how reliable that is.
Well, okay, so it's extraordinarily hard. We give prosecutors overwhelming immunity so they can have the flexibility to go do what they do. There is a type of lawsuit that is called. It's a 1983 lawsuit. It's not, for like the Michael Jackson Thriller. It's not based on the greatness of things like that. It's based on 42 USC Section 1983. That's essentially a wrongful prosecution lawsuit, but it's got to be you've got to be find that yes, these things were completely illegitimate, and we knew that they were illegitimate, and we just wanted to screw this guy. I don't think these cases are going to get quite there, and I think it would probably be a mistake here to overplay that type of a hand against Jack Smith.
All right.
I don't think it goes anywhere.
Cool. Jeremy, we got to run, but I really appreciate your legal expertise on a day like today. It was a very much needed addition to the James Show. Find him at TexasDefenseFirm.com. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask you the same thing I was asking Jeremy. If Jack Smith is dropping these cases, isn't this an admission of lawfare? Isn't this an admission of malicious prosecution, whatever that means? Granted, I'm a legal layman. If so, shouldn't Jack Smith be going to prison for abuse of power, or at least something? Because if you don't, step on this bug now, this is never going to go away. This is going to be the common practice. Lawfare will be the norm in all election cycles going forward, and I don't think we want that. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Your top story of the day is Jack Smith dropping the last case he had against Donald Trump, and that means his legal troubles are almost over. He still owes some money while some things are on appeal in the E. Jean Carroll case and the documents, but he's not going to prison. So this makes another narrative that's just been floating around for like the past 9 years. It's the punchline at this point. How many times, if you're just imagine for the Trump haters out there, no wonder they're shaving their heads and swearing off sex. How frustrating would it be if the experts had been telling you for the last 9 years, Donald Trump's going to go to prison any day now. Donald Trump, he's not going to get out of this one. The walls are closing in. Remember the montages? The walls are closing in. The writing's on the wall. He's running out of time. It was a bombshell. They still haven't got him. They still haven't got him. Oh, my goodness. How frustrated are these people? They've been told for the last 9 years this guy's going to prison, and now he's not. No matter what happens from here on out, this dude's not going to prison. That's hilarious. So there's one backward-looking aspect on this. The aspect looking forward on this is, well, if there was a crime here, why would you drop the case? Would you drop the case if it had been a bank robbery, if there had been a murder, if there had been what you and I would consider a real crime? Or is this just some trumped up, no pun intended, paperwork crime? Like with the loans coming out of New York in the case where he supposedly defrauded investors by inflating the value of his assets that he used for the collateral on the loan. You know, you came up with, big heinous case like that. If there's a real crime, you wouldn't drop it, would you? So to me, this is an admission of guilt. This is an admission that there's not a real crime. No one else that comes in here and looks at this case will go forward with it. In fact, we might want to go ahead and get the files closed on this and have it in the rearview mirror before the new people come in and start looking into it, because they'll figure out what a big pile of weak sauce it was to begin with. And here's the ugly part. I think if we don't do something about this now, this will be the norm. This is the unfortunate thing that happened. That part of me didn't feel a whole lot of sympathy for the Republicans and the two lame impeachment attempts against Donald Trump, because they're the ones who opened that can of worms by impeaching Bill Clinton over under the desk favors. You opened that Pandora's box. I was hoping it would be shut forever, but this is another Pandora's box. If we don't do something about this, if Jack Smith doesn't get humiliated or sent to prison or whatever, what's their incentive to not do it to Trump again? What's their incentive to not do it right now? Just keep more prosecutors and more DAs from other cities and states. They can just constantly sue him. Or when he gets out of office, just sue him into oblivion. Because the point isn't just to stop Trump. The point is to discourage any of you other people, any of you other half-rich people who will stick your head up. You'll just get hit like a whack-a-mole. This is a warning shot. It's one of the reasons, I would never want to run for office. I don't, because someone's going to come out of the woodwork and say, yeah, I was at a pool party and James touched me, and I don't know when it was or where it was or what state it was in or who all was there or where the address of the house or whose house it was. I don't remember any rules, but now all of a sudden I got to get drug out in the court of public opinion and I'm just going to be called rapist for the rest of my life. Just like Donald Trump right now. Guilty on, he's a convicted felon and a rapist. He's neither one of those things. If there's no charge that was brought upon him in his first 73 years of life, and then when he was running for president, and then when he was president for 4 years, and then when he was out of the presidency for another 3 years, and then when he announces that he's going to run for election again for 2024, then we get cases in 4 different jurisdictions, 6 different cases, 94 counts. All of a sudden, he's committed 94 crimes at age 78. Not believable. But the hilarious part about this is just how wrong that, everything. This is why I think gluten's probably a superfood. This is why I think preservatives are probably the best thing for you ever. Because if they're this wrong about everything else, I mean, they're probably wrong about that, right? You know, they have the tortillas now at the grocery store with no gluten. I'm looking for the one with extra gluten. It's probably a health food. It's probably the reason why we look so good.
Breaking news, a new bombshell.
One astrologer says this means the beginning of the end for President Donald Trump.
The beginning of the end of the Trump presidency.
By the way, this montage is from 2018.
Is this the tipping point? I know we've said
6 years ago?
Over and over.
You think this is a tipping point?
And over and over.
This is a tipping point.
And over and over.
Breaking news, President Trump off the rails.
It was the beginning of the end today.
It's the beginning of the end.
It reminds me a lot of the last days of Nixon.
God, why does this make me so happy?
The beginning, not the end.
The beginning of the end.
The walls are closing in.
The walls closing in.
There it is. Walls are closing in.
Breaking overnight bombshell.
This is a very dramatic day, and I think it might be near a tipping point. Do you think this is a tipping point?
This is unbelievable. This is remarkable.
This is from this is audio. It's from 2016, 2017, and 2018. Just so you know, they've been telling their listeners for 8 years now that this guy's on the precipice of going to jail. It's still not. How long does it take before they stop believing him? How many times does CNN and MSNBC have to lie to their audience before they're like, I think there's something wrong here? Apparently, we're not there yet. I don't know. Their audience is getting pretty small. Anyway, 800-288-9227 if you have any comments on that. The next one's another hot topic here. The Texas Board of Education has officially approved Bible-infused curriculum in public schools. Yeah. Will it be accepted? Will it be heavily protested? We'll talk about that next. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Yeah, welcome back. Happy Monday. Happy Thanksgiving week. I know, it stinks. Now you got the kids to hang out with all day. Hey, when you were a kid, did you get off all week for Thanksgiving? Because out in Buck Tussle, we didn't back then, but now, I don't know if this is everywhere. Does everyone have a whole week off? Do your job. Go to school. Like, this is the only profession I have seen where they just try like hell to never go to work. I don't know. I could do a whole show. I'll probably do a whole show about that either on Wednesday or Friday, because we'll be in the holidays and there's not going to be a whole lot of headlines cramming up my content of the show. I'm going to do a deeper dive into that, because I don't think you realize how little public school teachers work these days. My sister's a public school teacher, and I give her all kinds of crap for it. I've got her calendar, I can tell you. But it kind of seems goofy to talk about that on a day like today when we still have huge headlines. We've talked about already some of the big cabinet picks that were made. We talked about Jack Smith dropping the cases, and Trump's legal woes are about wrapped up and gone away. Here in Texas, we're going to allow Bible infused curriculum, and we're going to have mass deportation. Our mayor here's on board with it. Here it is. I'm in the third hour of the show, and I'm just now getting to World War III. Dr. Jeff Brodeur is back on, internationally recognized expert in chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear issues at Rigaku Analytical Devices. Welcome back to the James Show. Since we last talked last week, Jeff, how close are we to World War III? Closer, or have things cooled off a little bit?
No, they've done nothing. Thank you for inviting me back. They have not cooled off, that's for certain. Since we last talked, I think the Ukrainian forces shot some ATACMS surface-to-surface missiles into Russia. They responded with a new hypersonic missile that's nuclear capable, seemingly to send a message that they were serious about this. And then Ukraine nearly simultaneously used a new Shadow surface-to-surface missile, air-to-surface missile provided by the UK that targeted with pinpoint accuracy underground facilities in Russia that took out a North Korean general and several soldiers, we suspect. In response to that, Russia told the UK that you're not out of my reach. That signaled sort of a war footing amongst the European countries. Prepared for war was the mantra for a number of them. Countries like Latvia are re-engaging or have re-engaged their conscript, making it mandatory for young adults to serve in the government or the military. Other countries are doing more of a shelter in place rather than sharpening their blades. What I mean by that is many of them are looking their supply chain management. And those that are heavily dependent on China are re-looking who their vendors will be, anticipating China will, to some degree, enable Russian activities that can slow down or cut off supply chain management. Others are practicing what we in emergency management would describe as typical resiliency precautions. Some countries have told their citizens you need to stockpile for 7 days worth of subsidies, food, water, medical, that sort of thing. Other countries are dusting off their emergency management plans, kind of like the old civil defense plans, and then others are just literally sheltering in place.
Well, for a little context here, the distance between the Russian land and England is about the same distance as if you were to drive across Texas, like from El Paso to Orange. It's just under 800 miles. So, we feel like we're on the other side of the planet from Russia. It'd take a lot for them to launch an attack on us. For England, they're a little more brave for including some of their weapons in this. Do you think they're concerned about that?
I don't know. I've not talked to anybody from the UK. I tell you, my counterparts there, though, they are sharpening their blades. If I can anticipate what they're doing, they're great warriors. I've served with them before. They'd be happy to answer the call for NATO, and that's part of the challenge.
Dr. Jeffrey Broder, your thoughts on Pete Hegseth as the nominee for Defense Secretary? Do you think he would help this situation?
Yeah, the short answer is yes, and here's why I'll tell you that. People have described him as unqualified, and I went through my history books. There was a gentleman called Robert McNamara. He was appointed by JFK. He had very little experience in the defense industry. He was a Navy guy, if I remember. Pete's an Army guy. But he went into the Pentagon as one of the bright young agents of our time, and literally rewrote the planning, program, and budget system that the Pentagon still uses today. Significant impact. I think it's time for some fresh blood, for some fresh eyes to go in. He's got recent combat experience. He brings the warfighter's perspective to the tank, and I think all of that is healthy. To think otherwise, and if you can't defend your position on the process or what you're doing, that's a healthy conversation. And if you can't stand up for what we're doing, and you can't justify it, I think Pete is going to make some efficiencies of his own.
All right, Dr. Jeffrey Broder from Rugaku, thank you very much for your time. How do they find your work online?
I'm on LinkedIn, the only Jeffrey Broder that you'll find. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm just hoping no one breaks the nuclear seal. I've always found that weird in warfare, how nuclear weapons were developed by us. We dropped 2 bombs in World War II, and no one's touched it since. We went through the whole Korean War, Vietnam War, all the fun excursions we had in the Middle East and Serbia and Libya. No one's dropped one yet? No one's broken the seal? That's scary. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Don't worry, I'm not asking for anybody to break the seal. I'm not hoping anybody breaks the seal. All right, coming up in about 15, 20 minutes, you're going to hear Dead or Alive. We're going to play our game show. Coming up next, your thoughts, 800-288-9227. We've got Jack Smith dropping charges. We've got your mayor saying he's going to help deport illegals. We got the Texas Board of Education approving Bible-infused curriculum. There's a whole lot of fun stuff going on this week. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Coming up in 15 minutes, we're going to play Dead or Alive. This will be the Donald edition. Dead or Alive is the easier game show that we do here on The James Show. I'm going to name 10 celebrities, and you have to guess if they're dead or alive. It's that easy. So the Donald edition means Donald is going to be in their name. It might be their first name. It might be their last name. It might be part of their first or last name, like a MacDonald or a Donaldson or something to that effect. So the Donald edition of Dead or Alive is coming up in about 15 minutes. We're giving away 2 tickets to see Amy Grant at the WinStar World Casino and Resort on March 1st. Amy Grant tickets coming up in about 15 minutes. If you want to go ahead and get tickets, go to winstar.com. Also, blessedbethefruit.org is your home for Project 2025 implementation and bringing about the new Christo-fascist theocracy. Remember, after the inauguration, single women of childbearing age, you must register for selective service. So please let our Christian database know what size of Handmaid's Tale outfit you need. Register today at blessedbethefruit.org. All right, where I'm sitting right now is in the congressional district for a woman, Jasmine Crockett, who I'm starting to love on The James Show. I know she's on Team Blue. I know we don't agree on a whole lot politically. But 2 things I like about her is, look, while she's kind of a firebrand and, a loudmouth, so am I. I mean that in a nice way. I think she might be open-minded enough to be one of our proudest converts here in about 15 to 20 years. And maybe it won't take that long. And I mean convert Like we've seen Elon Musk, lifelong Democrat, not very much a Democrat anymore, is he? Tulsi Gabbard, she's going to be in the Trump administration. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Ricky Gervais, Joe Rogan, Russell Brand. Look at all these people who still they wouldn't consider themselves staunch ultra conservatives or from the team right legacy at all, but they're on our team now, aren't they? I think she's one of those. I think Jasmine Crockett might be one of those. Let me give you an example. By the way, she's a rising star. It's for the same reasons that I like her. I think a lot of other people see that too. Because whether or not she's correct in her policy positions, her political ideology, or the party she supports, she's real good at public speaking. She's real good at thinking on her feet. She's clever, like, and I mean clever as in like funny. Like she would be a good radio host. Also, her looks are a big help. I know that shouldn't matter. And I know that's not what you should be basing your vote on, but knowing how popular someone's going to be, knowing how effective they're going to be in a media setting, that matters. I wish it didn't, but it does. And she certainly has that going for her as well. Now, I think she probably first got on your radar with the bleach blonde, bad built butch body comment to Marjorie Taylor Greene because she said her fake eyelashes are messing her up or something to that effect. But she's gone past the petty bickering and the sensational soundbite. She was invited to be on the Sunday shows this week. What was this, ABC's? Was this the This Week one? So she's now, hey, check this out. She's on the Sunday shows and she's not being sensational. She's having like a calm, policy-based discussion. And look, this was coming in a conversation where, you know, some of the picks that Trump's making for his cabinet, of course, Team Blue's not going to be too happy about some of these people. But do you go ahead and, you know, let him have his nominees and let him have his cabinet he wants? Or do you try and stop him? You try and shut it down in the Senate and you try and make everything a battle, everything an obstacle. And Jasmine Crockett is saying that she's not a big fan of just, you know, going along to get along. She's saying she's not going to give him any peace. But listen to how she says it and see if you hear what I hear.
You're asking us to be
I don't know about giving him any peace, child. But what I will say, because you signed up to be the president of the United States, and we are definitely at a precipice in this country, and people were hurting, and they believe in him. So no, there should not be any peace over the next 4 years. He should be working every single day, not hanging out at Mar-a-Lago on, playing golf. He needs to be working and fighting to deliver for the American people, to make sure that these prices come down, but also to make sure that we're safe, because there were a lot of people that were concerned because of the wars that have been taking place around the world. And he is the guy that said on day one, I will stop this war. I will stop that war. Now, I don't know what magic wand he has hanging out in his back pocket that's going to allow him to do that. But as of right now, when we look at literally the level of competence when it comes to picking people that are competent for these positions, there are a lot of questions to be had about this. So at the end of the day, yes, we will respect what the voters decided, and the voters did vote him in. We will not sit there and we won't try to...
Hang on, I got to...
All right. The rest of the crowd has to jump in and say, you can't have it both ways. You're going to respect his mandate, but then fight him every step of the way. That aside, she betrayed like a foreign policy that's closer in line with me and you and Elon Musk and Donald Trump than it is with the establishment on both sides. Both sides love war. Both sides would like to have Ukraine go on forever. They like to see Israel go on forever. They had Afghanistan go on as long as politically possible. Well, what were we in there for a cool 20 years? So she mentioned that Trump wanted to start the wars, but she said it in almost stop the wars, almost a nice way. Like she was challenging, like, I don't know if he has a magic wand, but she would like to see that. Isn't that what you got? So she is that puts her on the outs. She is not with the mainstream Democrats. She is not with the Chuck Schumers and Nancy Pelosi's of the world. If anything, she's off on that weird island that, you know, economically speaking, he's off his rocker, but at least he's honest. Bernie Sanders. He's a little more anti-war than the establishment Democrats are, but also the Republican Party, the George Bushes, the Dick Cheneys, which turned into like the Liz Cheneys and Jeb Bushes. They're pro-war too, so she's on the outs with them. She has more in common with Elon Musk and Donald Trump in her foreign policy than Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. That's what I just heard. That gives me a ray of hope. That lets you know a couple things. Number one, that she doesn't just toe the party line or the establishment party line. That's what it says, number one. And number two, if people are open-minded enough, they'll get a chance to see, well, okay, on this argument, over and over and over, I hear Elon Musk defending me, or I hear a Joe Rogan defending me, or I hear even a Donald Trump defending me. That is something that not only draws a wedge between her and the establishment of Team Blue, it's kind of a rubber band, almost a magnet kind of pulling her toward us. Come on, Jasmine, just keep doing your research, keep looking into this stuff, and eventually you're going to make the same sort of evolution we've seen a lot of people make. Here's the other clip I wanted you to hear from her. This is her in an adult roundtable on the Sunday shows, making more good sense. However, this is more specifically about the pick for labor secretary. You don't need to know her name, but check out her response to some unknown here. She did some homework on her.
She's one of the few Republicans that actually signed the PRO Act. And so this is somebody that the Republican or that the Teamsters for sure wanted to make sure that they elevated. But she is a Republican through and through. I think when it comes down to it, we did see labor support fall off. We saw where there were various labors that had supported President Joe Biden that refused to support the vice president in her candidacy. And so there is something to be said about whatever conversations are taking place and where the unions are placing their support. And she may actually be that bridge to actually earn them more support. Now, the fact that she lost her election, she went up against somebody who has beat her every single time that she's run for office.
Now, listen to that. We heard a lot right there. Number one, she's willing to say nice things about someone on Team Red. That means she's not a hack. That means she's not a stooge of the Democrat Party. She's a free thinker. She's willing to be open-minded enough to say nice things about a Republican. That is fantastic. And she's someone that doesn't just go in there and pop off the mouth. There was some research behind it. I didn't know what the electoral history was of the labor secretary pick, but she did. I give her credit for that, too. I have hope for her. She's on Team Blue now, and I don't know if we'll convert her, but I think we have a chance. So if you see Jasmine Crockett, be nice to her. Tell her nice things. Tell her fake eyelashes look fantastic today, because I think she might be on our team here in about 15, 20 years. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.